are aggregate functions, 3 of them aren't, and therefore they need to be in the group by clause. Now here's the reasoning behind it. Let's pretend that I don't have this group by clause. If I don't have this group by clause, what's it going to give me? It's going to give me one answer, because I haven't said that I want it broken down by anything. So, it can give me the count of how many students, or I'm sorry, employees there are, and the average salary, and the minimum salary, and the maximum salary. But what is the department name? What is the one department name for every person in the organization? Well, that statement doesn't make sense, right? Each person has a different department name. There isn't one department name. So, how can I produce one row of output showing these numbers and say, oh yes, our company's department name is IT? It doesn't make sense. It's absurd. All right? If I want to show department name, I have to break these totals down by department name. All right? I can't show the totals for everything and slap a department name on it, because the totals for everything are for everything. They're not for some specific department. So therefore, I need a group by clause. Group by clause. I want to say group by department name. Now, the reverse is true too. If it's in a group by clause, it should be part of my select. That actually won't give you an error. What do you suppose it will do for you, though? If I forgot the department name on here and I said group by department name, what would I get?
You just wouldn't get the label of...
I wouldn't get the label for department name. So I would get like this. In the first department there are 5, but I don't know what that department is. In the second one there's 4, but I don't know what that department is. So, things that aren't aggregate functions in the group by clause, things in the group by clause up here in the select. All right, should match. So one thing that's not an aggregate function, one thing in the group by clause, one thing in the group by clause, it ought to be up here as well. Yeah?
If you put in a group by department ID, would that still...
No.
No?
No. Because of this. It's not immediately obvious to the database that there could not be 2 department IDs that have the same name. Think of, for example, you were grouping by employee, and you did the same reverse. You put employee, group by employee name, and then, or you put employee name up there, and then you said group by employee ID. All right? It could be that for a given ID, there's 2 people with the same name, or in essence, no. I'm confusing myself a little bit here. In essence, no, that it has to match. It would give you an error. Even though it might sound reasonable to you, and you know that really that should be enough, SQL's not smart enough to figure that out. So I would have to put department name in here. All right, let's go and play around with this. Let me go and add a salary column to this table and put some numbers in. And then we'll play around with it. So one example right off the top of my head of where a query does something like this is, if we were to go into Elsie's library, search. And take a nap. There we go. And let's say I want to search by author, and I type in Melville. Look what I have. Belleville 45. In essence, this is the result of an aggregate function. All right? It is showing me the name, or it's showing me the count of the number of books for that person, and then it's showing me the name. All right? If I click on that again, I can then see the detail. Here's the header, the information about the author, and here's a detail of all the books for them. So let's go in here and let's add a salary column onto this. And throw some numbers in here. One thing that you'll notice is I can't make that a required field. Why can't I make that a required field? Well, I just did, right? I can't make it required because there's already employees out there that don't have a salary. So I can't add a new column that says salary, make it required. All right? Because there's already people out there that don't have a salary. So what would I do if hey, everyone has to have a salary, no volunteers here. How would I make that work? Yeah, what I'd have to do, like if I was adding a new column that I wanted to be required, I'd have to add that column, make sure everyone gets populated with the right values, then I could make it required. All right, so I'd have to do it in a couple of steps. That is, by the way, and I alluded to, I probably made some very sweeping statements like you have to, you should always enforce referential integrity. You should always do that. You always do that. Always is a funny word, all right? Most of the time when I talk about it in those terms, I'm talking about if you're developing something brand new from scratch that you're going to use. On occasion, like if you're converting data or you're making modifications to the database, in some cases you'll create tables without constraints with the idea that you'll make sure everything is right and then you'll go and apply those constraints. All right? Like, for example, if you're converting from a spreadsheet, let's say, to a database, there might be a bogus order that doesn't correspond to any customer because someone keyed in to a spreadsheet the wrong customer number. Well, if I was converting that to a database, if I created the foreign key right off the bat, I wouldn't be able to, and I'd get an error. So what I can do is I can go and scrub the data, make sure that every order points to a valid customer, then I can go make the foreign key constraint. All right. So there's the salary field. Let's go in here and put some numbers in. All right. Now I should be able to go and save this. Now I should be able to add that constraint and say, yep, that guy is required. All right. Pardon me?
Did it say that it had a problem?
No, it didn't say it had a problem. It said it needs to go and check to see if I can do that. All right. I kind of clicked through a little bit fast on that. You could go to the instant replay if you want. But if you notice the first time through, it told me, hey, I have to check to see if you can do this. Then it came back and said, no, I'm sorry, I can't do it. The second time through, it came up with a box that says, I have to check to see if I can do this. Then it came back and didn't say anything because it was able to do that. All right, so let's go in here and let's start out by putting in, and we'll create a brand new one. And we're going a little long today, but I do want to finish this example. So I can go into configure data source, pick my same old connection, and I can put in a SQL statement. Select department name count star average salary min salary max salary sum salary from department employee where department ID equals employee department ID. Now I have to go and tack the group by on here, so I'll say group by department name. Alright. I could add more to the where clause. For example, if I was only interested in let's say, Ohio residents or Ohio employees, I could filter by that. One thing about SQL is like everything I'm doing, you can kind of mix and match however you see fit. That's really what is so cool and so powerful about SQL is really, you know, there's a half dozen, 10 sort of clauses to a select statement. You know, just like there's only like 9 chess pieces and they only move in a couple different ways. But, you know, the variation and the complexity comes in from the manner in which they get combined. So I can go in. I'll test this query. All right. Finish. I will build my grid view and associate it with that. I'll make it sortable for good measure. Notice that it gave me, because these are computed fields, that is, they're not stored in the database, the sum is not stored in the database, it gives me just a name saying that that's an expression. I probably would want to go in and clean that up, you know, and I'll just do 1. You know, the first one represents number of employees. And I could go and do that for the other 3 or 4 of them. Now when I go and run this, we'll see that what we get is the wrong page. Still get the wrong page. Total, yeah.
Totals.
Resource can't be found. Totals. All right. And there we go. So we can see it in alphabetical order or reverse alphabetical order. We can see it ranked by number of employees. We can see ranked from lowest average salary to highest, or the other way around, and so on down the line. Go ahead.
Is it just coincidence that expression 1 and 3 are the same?
Does anyone care to answer that?
1 and 3. Average.
I mean, is it? Oh wait, I see it now. My accounting's
What's the answer?
Da.
No. What's the answer for those playing at home? Why are they the same?
Oh, they're not.
Pardon me?
They're not.
Why are they in 2 cases the same?
Oh.
Yeah.
There's only 1 employee.
There's only 1 employee. So of course they're going to be the average salary. Of course they're going to be the minimum. Of course are going to be the maximum, you know, and of course they're going to be the average. And they're going to be the total too, all right? It's kind of like, you know, if you're a one-person department, you know, if you want to brag, you can say you're the highest paid person in the department. And if your friends want to put you down, you can say you're the lowest paid person in the department, all right? So, I'm going to cut off today. I went a little long. Thank you for reminding me about the aggregate functions, because it's something I had wanted to cover. We'll cut here. We'll probably talk a little bit about this to review, and we'll try some things, like what happens if you don't do those things. Or if you want, try them on your own. All right? And then we'll go on to the next phases, which are header detail. It's pretty simple. All right? What we'll do is we'll make a link on this guy, so that when we click on it, boom, we'll see the one employee that's in finance. If we click on accounting, we'll see the 2 employees that are in accounting. All right? And then we'll start getting into the real fun stuff of being able to add, change, and delete stuff. All right. See you over in lab.
We need that header detail functionality for the semester project, don't we?
Yep.
Along with the add, delete.
Yep.
Along with the mallet.
Along with the... I didn't hear what you said.
I said a mallet.
Oh, a mallet?
I'm having so many issues with it that it's not even funny. Found the service pack, and then it didn't install properly, and so now I'm re-downloading it directly from there to install.